So hello and welcome back to the GorillaBiker. Today we have a really cool bike for a first ride review. This is a 2020 model year, so I'm not sure it's 2020 or 2021. Anyway, it doesn't matter. For a first ride review, it is the 1100 Africa Twin. So this is the new Africa Twin. I have previously ridden the older model Africa Twin. It unfortunately never made it to the channel because I don't think I had the channel then. But I have ridden one, so it's going to be an interesting comparison. Now obviously I've put a little bit of distance on this one already just to get used to it, to get comfortable with it. And what we're going to run through here today on this bike is the ergonomics of the bike, the power and torque with a view to the changes, handling and braking, how that feels, all of the modes, the aesthetics of the bike, and pretty much everything that you could possibly want from a first ride review. So yeah, if you want to see all that, stick around for the entire thing. So one thing we're mentioning before we set off, as always, is we are running these Mitas Enduro Trail knobby tires, which are actually really fun on the road, to be honest. I haven't ridden with knobbies in quite a while, and it is really fun. But yeah, that's it really. So other than that, this is the standard Honda Africa Twin 1100, which is the 1084cc engine, and that's what we're going to be testing. The normal tank, 18 point something litres, all that stuff. This is essentially standard out of the box, what you could buy unless you spec'd up one or two pieces. So all the standard equipment on offer, cruise control, all that good stuff. Anyway, let's get onto the road. Also, one other thing to note is this bike was loaned to me for this review by Freeman Motorcycles in Clonmel. Massive thanks to them for making this video possible, because I wouldn't be able to do it if people didn't give me bikes. Also, this particular one is on sale for $13,950, I believe. They also have a DCT model, which I'll be riding later. Stay tuned for that to do a quick comparison on. But yeah, it's really kind of them to do this. So yeah, this video is in conjunction with them. This is on sale there. So far, very nice people, very nice to deal with, and they have a nice showroom. So when everything opens back up, get yourself down there and have a look. Okay, so now we're out on the road, and I have to say, straight off the bat, like you can see, I came up this way because it's quite bumpy. And one thing I absolutely love already is how good this is to stand up on, just ergonomics wise. It's really comfy. I won't stand up much because I don't need to, it's a road. But it is very nice. Now, and the 360 cam's holding on. Now, what do I want to start off with an ergonomics straight away is, just to let you all know, I am 6'7" and I weigh around about 128 kilos at the moment because I can't control my eating. But that is what this ergonomics-ness is based off. So one thing to note is I do have quite a long leg in comparison to your average bear, say. So if you're looking to compare to that, just be wary of that. Now, the seat straight away is lovely. Like I said before, I have ridden the 1000, the old one, the 1000cc Africa Twin, and this one I don't know what it is. I don't know, is it because the seat's narrower, I have more space to move around on it? Is it just it holds me nicer? The tank, it's just a really nice place to be. It's really nice to sit in. And you know, even the handlebars, I know they have adjusted the handlebars slightly. I don't know, are they? I think they're higher than the previous model, and they're just lovely. Like, my arms are lovely, comfortable angle all of the time for this road. And I mean, I'm being hammered here. This road is terrible. I don't know, is that coming across in the cameras? It probably isn't that one. But these roads are not good at all. And this bike is just soaking it up. So, you know, from the suspension package and the bars and everything else, it's a really nice place to sit and be. Now, like I said, I've already put some mileage onto this bike, so I can give a better representation of what it's like. And I honestly, it's just a nice place to be. So seat, bars, suspension, muy bueno, muy confortable. I don't have anything I can really complain about. And I am doing all of this ergonomic testing in tour mode. Like, look how comfortable it is to stand up on. You can just control. Now, I am used to standing up on bikes. I've stood up on lots and lots of bikes before, but this one is just lovely. I could go along standing on this for quite a long time, and I think that's important for these bikes, because you're going to spend a lot of time standing on these if you're using them for what they're kind of designed for, I suppose. So So standing, sitting, bars, very comfortable. But the switchgear, it's something that I might have to remove some points for later on, because this left-hand side one is very busy. I'm sure it's something I will get used to, but it's very, very busy. It's quite difficult to kind of figure out where everything is at first. And if you're trying to kind of use it on the fly, I don't know, is it for that? Like, you know, we have a function here. This is by the way, this whole thing is Apple CarPlay equipped, which I suppose I should mention in Ergonomics as well, just for how comfortable it is. But it is quite fiddly to get used to. Is the only way I can put it, really. It is fiddly. But yeah, on the left-hand switchgear, I mean, you're up and down for your modes is the important one, I suppose, and that's easy to use. I can just, you know, press up, press down, I'm into urban, and you're back into tour then. Oh, look at this. The control you have over this is mad. It's so nice to ride. But that is one of the only remarks I would have so far, is the fact that, you know, that switchgear is it's a little bit busy. It's a little bit busy, that's all I can say. But it is easy to reach everything. And as always, I will mention my one pet peeve, the horn. I did hit it accidentally while using the indicators. Again, bit of getting used to it. The indicators are kind of inset here, down below everything. So it is, it's probably just a bit of learning. And then all the actual controls are up here, including the horn, which is right there. So it does work. You do have your passing flasher. And that's also to click on your headlights as well, I believe. You push it up, so that's actually quite nice. I do like that. Look at that view. Wow. And the only thing I will say is, with this standard model, you do get this cut down screen, which is definitely more off-roady orientated, I would say, and not for touring. The Adventure Sport model does have that more touring-y setup on the screen. But for me, this one it's quite loud. Now, I'm very protected. Even me, as tall as I am, I'm actually quite well protected. Like, I can feel here there's nothing, right? There's nothing here, a little bit there, so that's hitting me in the face. And then out here, yeah, there's a good bit out here. But when your hands are on the bars, the backbusters are doing their jobs. And, you know, all the air is off my chest. It's actually quite nice. I couldn't fault it too much. Look at that view. What a view. What a view. So overall, I have to say this is a really comfy bike. Switchgear on the right, sorry, also you have your cruise control on and off, and we'll just set it. So I think that's set now. Yeah, and then we can go up speed with the cruise control. Yeah, so there you go. So all of it's easy to use, and it is comfortable. You definitely won't hit that by accident as well if you're off-road, which is nice too. But overall, and you know, I like to find things I can kind of fault, but nothing I can fault on this bike from a comfort perspective. It is actually really, really nice, and I can tell these roads are bumpy, and I'm not even feeling it. I'm just breezing over them. And you know, as everyone who watches the channel quite a lot will know, I do have a sore back at the moment. So yeah, I'm not feeling this at all. It's really nice. This is a tall bike. It has a seat height, I think the standard seat height is like 850 millimeters. There is a low seat and a high seat you can get for it. But when I was maneuvering this on like kind of a dirty, patchy road earlier, it's not easy to do. It is a tall bike, and you know, if you're shorter than, I would say 5'10", even 5'9", 5'10", just be careful if you do take one out for a test ride or anything else, because it's heavy. It's really heavy. It's not heavy. It's hard to manage is the better word. It's actually quite light. It's only, I think the bike in total, look at that view, wow. The bike in total is only 220 something kilos fully wet, so it's not overly heavy. It's just hard to maneuver because it's so tall. So before we fully get into power, this bike has 100 brake horsepower at 7,000, the peak power at 100 Let's go again. This bike has 100 brake horsepower rod, peaking at a 7,500 RPM, so it's quite a revvy engine. And it also has 105 Newton meters at 6,250. The conversions are up on the screen now, because I know I mix everything up, but yeah, conversions for units are on the screen now. So it's a really nice engine. This is the 6-speed 1084cc parallel twin from Honda. It's delicious. It has, for controlling that power, we do have a 6-axis IMU, which controls your traction, cornering, ABS. It has anti-wheelie and stuff as well built in, as far as I remember. But it's really nice. It's really manageable. It's quite a lump of power on what is a light bike. This thing comes in at around about 224 kg fully wet. So that is this bike. I mean, it's literally, it's really not heavy. It's 20 kilos lighter than my CBF1000 fully loaded. So yeah, really impressive on the power front. Anything else in the drivetrain? So this is a chain that might bother some people if you wanted something for touring-y. The Honda Africa Twins are chain driven, 6-speed chain driven, wet clutch. So that might bother some people. If you're doing huge mileage, you probably do want something with a drive shaft. Personally, it wouldn't bother me. I think chains are quite easy to maintain, and you know, looked after. They do a lot of mileage, so not that big a deal. But if it's something you want to consider, that is how this power is delivered to the ground, a 525 chain. And what else? I suppose we'll mention again, I do have knobbies on this, so I won't be going mad. On spoked wheels with tubes in them, again losing a bit of feeling through those. So if you're looking for something that's super sporty, you probably aren't looking at an Africa Twin. Now for your power modes as well, just to talk through it, okay, you do have tour, you have urban, you have gravel, class bike. You have gravel, which turns off your ABS on the back, and you also have off-road, which turns off your ABS on the back and doesn't really show you anything other than revs, because that's all you care about off-road. You're not trying to do anything. And then you have 2 user-specific modes that you can set up yourself. Personally, I quite like Tour. It's plenty powerful enough for me, and you know, it's engine braking and traction and all that. It's really good, particularly with the knobbies, and particularly because this is not my bike. It's been loaned to me. So it always feels like it wants to lift that front wheel, which is really nice on the power front. But it's also very easy not to if you don't want to. It's very, like I said, it's very controlled power delivery for what is a very torquey bike. And from a 2-cylinder engine, it has the same power output as my CBF1000, which is a 4-cylinder. So my CBF1000 is a lot revvy. The power happens in a different place. But I have to say, if you were to put 2 of them side by side and tell me to keep one at the moment, I'd be taking this home 100%. This bike is honestly lovely on the power front. And honestly, where I think people are going to use this type of bike most, if it was me, I'd use it on roads like this. And then, you know, you don't need to use your gears too much because of that torque and where that torque comes on. You have plenty of power and torque for these type of roads. Okay, not this type of road, this is a bit bumpy. But you know, in general, nice windy back roads with good views. I mean, that's where I'd bring this bike. And I'd probably try to take it up a little bit of a trail. But it's really well balanced. That's what I'll say, power-wise. And like I've said before, the numbers on paper don't really mean a lot to me. How it feels out on the road is what it means to me. And this bike is really well balanced. And I'll explain that a bit more when we get to, you know, the brakes and handling section of the review. But you can just see going through these corners, gun it, that's the front wheel wanting to come up there. And if I let it, it would, you know what I mean? If I lean back into it a bit, like, again, that front wheel just goes. So it feels fantastic. Like, to be honest, any more power and you'd end up just having a lot more electronics to ride this bike for you. And that's the thing. I think for me, this bike, even though it does have the 6-axis IMU and it does have all that good stuff for getting your power to the ground, it still feels like you're riding it, which I really like. So we're going to start in 6th gear in tour mode, because that's what most people use these for. Let's face it, people don't race these bikes. Most people, if you're looking at one of these, it's because you want something that's nice. It's just good at lots of things, and one of them being touring. And I have to say, the power in 6th There is plenty of it there. And we'll gear down once or twice, and then we're going to talk about the actual engine in this. So here we go. So, is this going to set your world on fire? No. This is not a sports bike. This is not a really fast bike. But what it is it's a touring e-bike that has a buttload of torque and power. It's a really nice usable amount as well. And if we turn it to urban, I think I have even more. Let's give this a go. Yep. Like, the power it's there, you know what I mean? it's really nice. It's really usable power. Look at that. I just can't get over that view. That is phenomenal. And it is, I think the big thing for me on this one, is it an improvement over the likes of the previous gen? And it definitely is. Oh, so nice in the corners. And the power, the only thing I will say is the power is definitely more aggressive than the last model. So it definitely isn't as, like, if you rode the last Africa Twin, it was a much smoother power delivery. It was a much nicer power delivery. But this one is a little bit angrier, a little bit more aggressive. Almost like it's announcing itself to the world that it is now a powerful bike. And how that was accomplished was, this is a 1084cc engine. The previous model was, oh, that's cool. The previous model was a 998cc engine, and they've also cut weight. So the frame was redesigned, the swing arm was redesigned, and all that good stuff. So it definitely did, you know, it was partly power upgrade through the engine, but it was also weight loss. So then we'll get on to brakes and handling. But it does have, you know, 2 upside down Showa front forks on the front with plenty of travel. I think 230mm travel on the front forks, and then obviously a long travel single Showa, I think it's Showa, shock on the back, which for my big arse, it's quite pleasant, I have to say, over these bumps. Now, the only thing that I will feel I should mention is, between this and the Adventure Sport model, you do get all the electronically adjustable suspension on the Adventure Sport model. Braking is accomplished by 2 calipers on the front, twin discs, and it feels great. It was one of the first things I noticed actually when I was riding this bike out, is how nice the brakes felt. So we'll just try them right here. I'm braking pretty hard there, no ABS coming on, and I personally, and if you're watching the channel, I recently rode an XR, I think I have more control on these. We'll just go again here, a bit of a bumpy road, braking over the bumps, nothing, absolutely nothing. That feels perfect. And that's something that is very important to me, is braking, because I ride on these type of roads a lot, and the thing about them is, anything can pop around the corner, or, you know, you can spot something lying across the road, and you want to just be able to put on the anchors like that. There we go. Now we got the ABS on. So, and the ABS, again, it feels lovely and controllable, which is very important. So one thing that I will say is, this does have those knobbies, but they're really not affecting the ride quality much. Now, I will say, if you have to be, you kind of would want to be used to knobby tires. There's definitely a learning grade there. If you've never ridden with them before, I wouldn't go out and just go straight into being comfortable with them, because, or, you know, feigning comfort. They're odd. And again, one more brake test. Hard. Lots of ABS there, and it still feels good. So yeah, it brakes really good, even on the knobbies, which obviously, if we had road bias tires or more road bias tires on this thing, I think it'd do better. But that, it feels absolutely lovely out in the road. I can't. There's very little I can take from it. And one thing I feel I should mention on power and torque, or power and torque and brakes and handling, before we move on fully, is how it sounds. Now, the engine on this sounds sublime. Again, if you know me, you know I like a louder exhaust, but this one obviously is a Euro Cat 5 standard exhaust, and it's very quiet, and that's not a bad thing. To be honest, it's just a really nice place to be, this bike. And at no point have I felt that, you know, that my experience is being kind of detracted from by the lack of an exhaust note, because the engine sounds so good. I don't know, can you hear that? Now, am I saying I wouldn't put an exhaust on it if I owned this? Absolutely not. I'd still put an exhaust on it because these engines sound great with the nice exhaust. But at the same time, it's not something that's going to ruin your experience of the bike if you don't put an exhaust on it straight away. Obviously the 6-axis IMU does give you traction control, leaning and all that good stuff, and also ABS on corners. And I did manage to get traction control on there a while back, just hit some stones, and it did come on. Did it save my ass? Probably not. I was absolutely fine. But the fact that it's been so unobtrusive is a really nice thing. Now this road is one that it's great for a test, but it's been really unobtrusive and just let me ride the bike like here. I mean, I'm pushing that around the corner quite, you know, not pushing it hard or anything, but still pushing it, you know, on a bike that I've just learned to come to terms with more so than anything else. And I have to say, it's really nice. It just handles the road great. Anything that I've thrown at it so far, it just does well. And one thing that impresses me more than anything else is the fact those control electronics generally have me left alone. And even if they're doing it in the background, I haven't noticed them, except for the ABS and the one time I got the traction control to come on, which is a huge thing for me because it's something that I like. Like I said before, I don't want to feel like my bike's been ridden by a computer. I want my bike to feel like it's been ridden by me, and this really does. So power, brakes, handling, suspension, torque, one big package is delicious. Like you can see there, just drop it into the corner, it just comes back up. We'll drop it into this corner again, and this is on knobbies, I remind you. It just comes back up. This bike is, I really like this bike. I probably like this bike a bit too much. Now back to me, it's somewhere else for aesthetics, and then we'll come back and talk about some other things. So let's talk about the aesthetics of this bike. Now, I am a big fan of the colour because it's it's interesting but understated, and I think it's going to wear very well. The new front end, the new lights are gorgeous. You can see them right there. I have it turned on, so I'll just turn it off. But those are the lights that you have on all the time, your daytime running lights. The front end, in my opinion, is absolutely beautiful. The newly redesigned chassis and all that stuff that was intended to give it a more lightweight feel and all that good stuff also looks really good. It's definitely a narrower profile than the old bike, which in my opinion is a good thing. And it kind of looks like nearly very similar to the Tenere 700, to be honest. And if you've watched the channel at all, you know that I absolutely would love a T7. But to be honest, after riding this, I'm not so sure. It's got the looks for me. It's got that, you know, that adventure-y, off-roady look. And it's definitely more aimed as an adventure-y bike than you know, even the likes of the GS and stuff, because this is way lighter than those. If you've ever ridden a GSA, they're quite top heavy. And even, to be honest, the Adventure Sport, I did ride the previous generation. I rode the Adventure Sport, which had the bigger tank and all that, and it's a lot more weight up top. This, I personally, I prefer the slimmer look. Personally, I prefer you know, the more narrow, lean look than the Adventure models. You know, from your big beefy front forks, your upside downs are 45mm as far as I can remember. Their Showas, that's gorgeous. I love upside down forks anyway, because who doesn't? But even how they've built in this, you know, the actual cover for the work bit of the stanchion, the one you don't want to get hurt. The way they've integrated this into the front fender is absolutely beautiful, in my opinion. I really like the colour, I really like the look, okay? Nothing I can really fault it on there. I actually don't hate the standard exhaust. I generally hate standard exhaust, but this one isn't so bad. And to be honest, it's really nicely accented against the engine. The subframe being all red to match the accents on the fairings, gorgeous. That's one of my favourite bits. The fact that they could have just done this all one run of colour, but the fact it didn't, and the fact they put that red, that makes it for me. If it didn't have that colour accent, I don't know what I like it as much. Spoked wheels, so this being the standard one, these are the tube spoked wheels. they're spoked wheels, nothing fancy about them. I like them. Like I said, the exhaust, it's fine. It's a standard exhaust, you know. And this is where I really like this cockpit area, and this has the car style screen, you know, for standing up and stuff. It has a really good viewing angle when you're standing, which I probably talked about already in ergonomics. It's really, really nice. So when you turn the key, you know, you have, this is a bit meaty, okay? This probably doesn't look the best, but it's functional, so, you know, what can you do? And then over here, they've beefed this one to match this one's beef, but this one looks quite empty. So don't know are these my favorite thing in the world, but you know, they're functional, they do their job. And this screen, which is a touch screen and also can be controlled from here, this I like. So you got all your different, you know, your different settings on here, and you can scroll through your different modes. Come on, bike. Any day now, there you go, urban mode. So it's just, it shows you a different thing for everyone. So tour mode I actually like the most. It has lots of information on it and it's pretty cool. But other than that, there's not a huge amount else to this bike. Like I said, the accents on the engine really nice. The accents on the rear subframe are really nice. These handguards look really well. They fit really well. And the indicators and front end, I mean, that front end is just cool. I like that. That coming down the road towards you, it's a cool front end. And you know, from where you're sitting, if you can imagine yourself, this is a really nice place to be. One thing I should have mentioned as well that I actually did remark upon earlier to myself out loud, I really like this, you know, how they've integrated the fans for the radiators. So the radiators, I don't know, can you see that? They're aside from the spine of the frame. And then they have this really nice exit here, which actually has kept heat off me so far. I haven't done a huge amount of mileage, but it has kept heat off me so far. So not only does it look cool, it's really functional. So that's it's another plus for aesthetics. So the extras. Obviously this bike, like I said, it comes with the 6-axis IMU, so you do have cruise control, and you do have a lot of fancy other things like throttle by wire, power modes. We have, like I said earlier, we have our tour mode, we have our urban mode, gravel, we have off-road, we have user specified 1 and user specified 2, and back to tour. I've tried all the modes. My favorite is tour. It just feels the nicest on the road. Urban would probably be nicer if I was out on main roads, but I don't like main roads, so I'm on these ones. And tour feels absolutely perfect on these roads. What else do we have? We have all our fancy controls as well. You can go side to side, look at your trip calculators. It doesn't have, you know, it's not as fancy as, say, the screen on the XR that I tested, but it's also considerably cheaper than an XR. And one thing I really like is because it's this Dakar style screen, when you stand up, you can still look down and see everything. Now, I wouldn't recommend standing at this speed if you're not used to it, but you can still see everything perfectly comfortably. Yeah, okay, now is the time to mention it. The Adventure Sport model, if you do get the Adventure Sport model, you do then get your electronically adjusted suspension, you get your bigger tank, and a couple of other bits, different colours and all that stuff. But to be honest, I wouldn't have one, because this one rides so nice, and it's so light, and the tank is so narrow. This is the model I would have, and I'm not just saying that because I'm on it. I'm saying it because I did ride the previous generation's adventure sports, and it felt like a much bigger bike. Cost wise, this particular model, like I said, this one I'm riding right now is 13950 from Freeman Motorcycles in Clonmel. But they kind of range, I put a range of prices up there. They stretch because of your options and, you know, adventure sport models and all that. There's no one price fits all, like always, but I'll put up the starting price from brand new on screen. Who's this bike for? Well, me. To be honest, this bike is definitely for me. It's if you watch my videos and you see the type of riding I do, if you like riding on these roads, and you like being able to push on your bike a little bit, I think this is the bike for you, to be honest. This is kind of, for me, this is competing with the T7. It's actually quite a similar size to the T7. Obviously, it's a lot heavier. It is, don't get me wrong, when I say it's competing with the big T7, it is a bigger bike, it's a heavier bike. But this is like a really good balance between a middleweight adventure touring bike and you know, the upper end adventure touring bikes. And a lot of people, myself included, I don't want a GS. They're too big, they're too heavy. They're just, yeah, I suppose it's just they're too big, and obviously then cost plays into it. But if you were to tell me tomorrow you can have one of the bikes you've ridden recently, and this includes the XR, and I'm sorry uncle, I am sorry minor uncle if you're watching this, I would have this. Oh, there you go, that's why you need good brakes. I would have this over the XR. It's just a really nice place to be. It's a really nice balance of power all around. This bike it's for me. So if you watch the channel and you see a bike, you see my type of riding, and you think, oh yeah, that's the type of riding I want to do, then yeah, this bike is for you. You know what I mean? So, you know, reasonably fast to moderate road riding speeds, and just having the options to you know, ride on crappier roads is really, really nice. And this is a cool gate. I think we'll stop here to finish the video. So this is what I was saying. You can probably see it on the 360 cam. I am flat footing this bike both sides. I am 6'7". So yeah, definitely a taller bike. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled by how light it feels out on the road. If you were to leave this down and you're of more challenged height, you could get into trouble on this. So just be careful. So yeah, what do I think? I really like it. I really like it. So just to summarize, on the ergonomics, it's very comfortable. That seat is a really nice place to be. I wasn't getting uncomfortable at all, and I don't know, is that the mid-height seat? If you're tall like myself, you could have probably gotten the taller height seat as well. But for me, very, very comfortable. No complaints at all. What else then? The power and the torque. I'm a big fan of the power delivery on this. I'm a big fan of how much power is available on this. I'm a big fan of how much torque there is on this. I'm just a fan of this bike, to be honest. Yeah, I really am. What else? The handling and the brakes. Like I said, you can see the brakes. Nice 4-piston calipers. They do have ABS, which is actually works quite well. If you've probably seen me test it, if you watch this far. And then on the back, you also have quite a big single piston, or is it dual piston? No, single piston caliper on the back, which actually works really well. There's lots of feel through that pedal, and it works really nice too. Aesthetics, I think it's a really good looking bike. I really do. I think it's a good looking bike. There's not really much I can fault it on, to be honest. Looks wise, is there anything I would change? I might put engine bars in the front, because I think that'd just make it look a bit beefier. At the moment, it does look quite tall. Like it's been. I wouldn't though. It looks good, you know, because it's a long travel suspension. It's gonna look tall because it's tall. What else? You know, the cost, I think it's pretty reasonable for a modern 1000cc bike. Like if I had the money and if I had the money plus the trade for my CBF, I would buy this bike. Honestly, I would, because it's really, really nice. It's a nice place to be. It's really comfortable, and it's good on fuel. Actually, I forgot to mention that these are known to deliver around about 50 mpg, or like 4.9 liters per 100 kilometers, or 40 something US mpg. I'll put it on the screen. Like, that's really good. So if you're using this for touring, it also gives you a good return in fuel economy, which is really, really nice. And it does have, you know, an 18.5 litre tank is standard on this one. Obviously the Adventure Sports is a bigger tank, but you don't need it. I'm sorry, look, I'm gonna say this, amigos. You do not need a long range tank. Most people do not need them, unless you're going around the world or touring through Europe. Then maybe, yeah, a long range tank is handy, but most people don't need it. I certainly don't, and I will admit to that. I don't do long enough distance to need a long range tank. So who is this bike for? Like I said, me. If you watch this video, my videos or whatever else, if you just like going around back roads but having the power to go when you want to, this bike is for you. It's really, really nice. Only things I would take from it is, I think that left-hand control unit is a bit busy. Other than that, there's not really much else I can knock it for. I like the screens, and I am an analog person myself. I prefer analog dials, but on a bike like this, the screens make sense 100%. Anything else? I actually kind of like it on the knobbies, because they temper you. You know, with more road bice tires, you'd probably be inclined to push it a little bit. Nice Porsche. Nice Porsche. You'd probably be inclined to push it a little bit, and maybe that's when this bike would get out of shape, because obviously the suspension is quite tall. I definitely could tighten everything up for myself, but obviously it's not my bike. Would it serve a purpose to tighten it up for a heavier person if you're owning this? Absolutely. But for me, perfect as it is. Yeah, that's one other thing. Yeah, if you had road wise tires on it, be interesting to see if you shove it on. And the DCT model I'm riding after this, do a quick comparison, actually does have road wise tires, so that'll be interesting to try that. Yeah, like I said, left hand cluster is a bit busy, but other than that, it's a really nice bike. Now, I've said this before, any new modern bike really should be this good, because they're expensive, because they've been designed to the nth degree to meet Eurocat 5, stuff like that. It really should be good. Obviously, will it stand the test of time? It's a Honda, probably, so it'll be interesting to see. I think it will, because it's a Honda. And yeah, I don't really have anything else to fault it on. I really like this bike. I really like it. If you were, like I said, if you were to say to me, would I buy it? Absolutely. If I had the money to trade in the CBF and get one of these instead, I'd take it. Would I take this over the XR? Absolutely. Which might surprise some people, because obviously, look, the XR is an amazing bike and all, and it has quick shifter and all that crack, but I don't need them. This is the type of bike that I would do my riding on mostly. I really like it. Oh, one other thing then to detract from it maybe a little bit is, I think I would change that screen. I think I'd probably put a more screen like that's on the T7 onto it, that comes up that little bit higher, so when you're riding along you don't get as much wind. But like, at the same time, I'm nitpicking, because it wouldn't bother me to leave it as is. And yeah, so that's it really. Would I recommend this bike? Absolutely. Like I said, if you want to see this one, exactly this one, it's in Freeman Motorcycles in Clonmel. Give them a shout, ask them will they do a deal with you, mention my name so they'll keep letting me ride bikes. And yeah, has my recommendation. I really like it. Again, I know it's terrible. I would like to give you things that I don't like, but there's nothing there. It's a really good bike. Is it better than the last generation? I think so. I prefer it over the last generation. Yeah, the throttle's a little bit more snatchy, but that's not a bad thing as well, because you have the extra power to use. I really like it. I highly recommend it. It is better than the last gen. I would take it over an XR. I would take it over my CBF. I probably shouldn't have ridden it. So yeah, until next time, thank you very much for watching. If you're new here, please do hit the subscribe button. If you enjoyed this video, please do hit the like button. And a massive thanks as always to my patrons. And yeah, until next time, thank you again. Adios. Oh, yeah. Outro crew. I'm interested to know something. Would you have this color, or would you take it a different color? Actually, I like this. It's a really nice kind of matty. It's a really nice feel to it as well, and the seat's nice and grippy. It's just, I really like it. I really like it. Okay, outro crew. Bye.